Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist. Here was some interesting stuff for us to ponder today. So, just to settle in, let's take a couple of nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just dropping your shoulders, settling in for a little information and camaraderie this morning, and then we'll all get off about our days. Welcome to whomever just popped on. Glad you are here. And what we're referencing today, good morning, is taking the war out of our words, the art of powerful, non-defensive communication. Good morning, Cindy. Good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad you are here. I think you're both going to like this piece because it's pretty cut and dried, to the point, makes us look at something in a whole new way. All right? And know that today I'm not going to hit the, good morning, Holly, welcome. I'm not going to hit the part about what do we do about this. I just want us to have the awareness of, ooh, yeah, I do that. And tomorrow I will, I promise, go over what are some things we can do instead. All right. First, we're just kind of identifying the issues, and then we'll go at, awesome. Mel ordered the book. Fabulous. Page number is 59. It's under the chapter called Counterattack. And what I want to go over is 6 typical kinds of defensive reactions that we display, and then a little bit more to kind of wrap that up. And then tomorrow we'll talk about, and what do we do instead? Because if you're like me, when you hear this part, you're going to go, yeah, I do all that. I can't think of another thing I could possibly do instead. If these aren't right, what is? So let's go over these 6 first. So basically there are 3 categories of responses that we can give when we feel like we're being attacked by somebody. Cindy got hers in the mail yesterday. Fabulous. Awesome. This is a great book. There's so much here, and I had to take it in little chunks because it's so counter what we've been taught, what we've lived for 60 years, that I had to do it in small doses to try to get it to sink in. And one of the things that I know for me is the best way for me to learn something is to teach it. Thus, here we are today. So there's 3 main categories of reactions we put out in response to what feels like someone attacking us verbally. We can surrender, we can withdraw, we can counterattack. Surrender, withdraw, counterattack. And then under each one of those, there's 2 different flavors of behavior. So let's go over those. So it ends up being 6 things, and then we'll kind of wrap it up for today and let you ponder it for today. And then tomorrow we'll talk about, and what do we do about this? So under the surrender category, there's 2 different types. There's surrender betray and surrender sabotage. Don't they both sound crappy? Right? So surrender betray is what good morning, Beth, what she calls the codependent personality type. And we all know people who are pretty codependent, us included, right? So surrender betray, the codependent personality type, is giving in to someone who treats you poorly, blaming yourself, and making excuses for the other person. Well, he's just tired, or she didn't have a good day, so she took it out on me, all that kind of crap, okay? So surrender betray, the codependent personality type, giving in to someone who treats you poorly, blaming yourself, and making excuses for that person. Second one is surrender sabotage, and that's the passive-aggressive personality type, and we all know those people, don't we? We're it too. Surrender sabotage, pretending to agree with someone who you think is treating you poorly and then doing something to undermine the person. Yeah, sure, I'll get that done, and then you don't do it. Or, yeah, I see your point, blah, blah, she's such a bitch. That kind of stuff, all right? So those are the surrender ones. Then there are 2 under withdraw. There's withdraw escape and withdraw entrap. Yes, good. Awesome. There we go. Yes, the more you can own these as, yes, I do all of these. And this one's my favorite. Own it, claim it, because you can't fix what you don't own. All of this is fixable. And even in a conversation, when we're willing to say, oh, wait a minute, that was passive aggressive of me. I'm sorry. Let me take another run at that. You're opening up the door for communication to get so much better. And man, we need much better communication because we're pretty stinky at it. So withdraw, escape is the passive personality type. They avoid talking about something they don't want to talk about in order to avoid conflict. And I was actually working with a young woman yesterday, and in terms of dealing with her mother, she was explaining a couple of situations, and I said to her, and was your motivation there to avoid having conflict with her? And she said, absolutely. Sold herself out, did not feel good about it. It's still bothering her, but she couldn't think of anything else to do besides sell herself out. So here's more opportunities to learn about this stuff, and then we'll make some changes. So that's withdraw, escape, that passive personality type. Then there's withdraw and trap. I'm a master at this one. And it's a vindictive personality style. Refusing to respond to someone in order to draw that person into a situation where he or she may feel uncomfortable or act inappropriately. So that can be the person saying to you, what's wrong? Nothing. There's something wrong. You're not talking. Nope, everything's fine. And you're trying to pull that person into a conflict with you. And typically it's successful, and then everybody's miserable, right? So that's withdraw and trap. So under the withdraw heading, we have withdraw, escape, which is the passive personality type, and withdraw and trap, which is the vindictive personality type. That one, it's kind of like it's more important to be right than it is to be happy. Third category is counterattack. Counterattack. I'm pretty good at these too. There's counterattack justify and counterattack blame. So counterattack justify is the defensive personality type, responding to criticism by explaining your own behavior or making excuses. Well, I just thought that I don't know why you're so upset. It made sense to me to do it this way. Yeah, I didn't ask you, but it just made sense to get it done. That kind of defensive reaction. And then there's counterattack blame, the aggressive personality type, attacking the other person's position in an attempt to defend yourself. So you're more invested in tearing apart where they're coming from than speaking truthfully about where you're coming from. How many of you do these? How many of you do all of these? Yep, it's just what we've learned to do. Good morning, Joe. We just went over 6 defensive reactions, and I'm going to read a little more from a little further in that chapter, and then tomorrow we're going to work on fixing it. So on page 76, there's a part called Process Determines the Outcome. When we engage in any physical activity, we usually trust that the process determines the outcome, that the means determines the end result. If I told you that I could cut a basketball in half and dribble it down the court, you'd probably think I had a bizarre sense of humor or some trick up my sleeve. If I seriously insisted that I could do so, you'd probably think I was crazy. Yet we defend ways of talking to each other that consistently block us from reaching our goals. And again, I think the reason we do this is because we don't know any other way yet. We have failed to pay close attention to the direct relationship between how we speak and the pervasive conflict it causes. We lack inner clarity about what we are doing. Nothing is exactly as it seems. A question may not really be a question. Did you really think that was going to work? A statement may really be a threat. Good, I'm glad you're looking forward to tomorrow. Oh yeah, yes, we all do these. A prediction may merely be a bluff. If you aren't ready on time, I'm leaving without you. May just be an empty threat, right? Sometimes we mix questions, statements, and predictions in a way that accomplishes less than anyone alone. For example, a supervisor may say to an administrative assistant, "Please get this report done by Friday." This statement could be interpreted in any of 3 ways. As a question, "Can you get this report done by Friday?" As a statement, "I'd like to have this report done by Friday." As a prediction, "If you don't get this report done by Friday, I will be very upset." She says, I believe that blending forms of communication in this way can confuse not only the listener, but the speaker. Simply put, we get mixed up, and our muddle makes it all the easier to deny that we are communicating in divisive ways. Recently, I saw a bumper sticker that stopped me in my tracks. Fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity. I remember that bumper sticker. I saw that one. When we talk about fighting for peace, our very language reflects our attempt to reach a goal with a process that inherently moves us in the opposite direction. Yes, fighting for peace. Bizarre. Likewise, our predominant ways of talking to each other move us toward conflict instead of resolution, judgment instead of learning, resistance instead of openness, anger instead of love. Absolutely. So then there's a little section called the war model, an airtight system. Despite its destructiveness, the war model for communicating has such internal consistency that we don't seem to have other realistic options. To most, it can seem incomprehensible that there could be another real world, another way of communicating. Even if our hearts are initially open, we can become defensive just by using traditional conventions for questions, statements, and predictions. Our strong pull toward defensiveness, combined with how we commonly speak, puts the locks in place, enclosing us in an airtight system of conflict. I love how she speaks. She's so spot on and brilliant with her words. As long as we remain tied to these concepts of how to protect ourselves and how to communicate, we have no more chance of escaping the power struggle jar than do trapped flies. She says, I have presented a detailed picture of this war model in order that we may thoroughly understand dominant communication patterns. Now I think we can begin to create a different real world by examining and learning a new non-defensive way of speaking. So there is our goal. So tomorrow, the next section will be the non-defensive model. Tools instead of weapons. Tools instead of weapons. Pretty cool, huh? So don't beat yourself up about this stuff. I hope you feel a sense of community around this. We're all doing this. It's what we've been taught how to do. We can't know how to do something different until we have new fodder, new grist for our mill. Okay? So try not to get discouraged about this stuff. And as we're learning new methods and as we're practicing new stuff, try not to get discouraged when you suck at it, because you will. It's like learning to whistle. We're terrible, but we sit on the front porch when we're 8 years old and go until we can whistle, right? We need that kind of stick-to-itiveness in terms of correcting the communication stuff. And one of the things that is likely to happen, I'm going to forewarn you here, is when we start learning about this stuff, we want to point it out in everybody. Ooh, you just did a betray there, blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't help. It really doesn't help. We do so much better when we simply model a different way of doing things. Simply model a different way of doing things. And I will also suggest to you that when we do that, initially, people in our world are going to be confused. Usually I push her button on that and she blows up and yells and leaves me alone for a couple of days. I pushed the button, I got a different response. Or nothing, no response. What happened? Push the button, push the button, push the button. People will initially sometimes escalate when we're not in our old behaviors anymore. All right? So what you want to do then is you want to practice not slipping back into the old behaviors. If it happens, it happens. But know that when it happens, it reinforces the old pattern again. Ooh, I only had to push the button 5 times and then I got my old response. So next time I don't get what I'm looking for, I'll push it 5 times again, see what happens. That's how people are. We're gamblers. We play those games. So what we want to do is we want to just, as we're talking about the changes to make, just pick one. Just pick one thing. Run with one. Get that one really working well, then pick another one, right? That's all we're asking. And you can choose to hang on to your old patterns of communication because we can see how well they've worked for us, right? So glad this was helpful. I'm glad she wrote the book too, because for me it was like, aha, this makes so much sense. It was like taking off blinders and seeing another whole expansive field of infinite possibilities in terms of communication. So tomorrow we'll get into some of that. Have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are, including understanding your not working out very well communication and creating new communication. Bye-bye.